Hello and welcome to the Blessings in the Streets podcast. I am your host, Joseph B. Roberts, and in studio with me today is a phenomenal woman that I've had the pleasure of knowing literally about years now. She is a mom, she's a grandmother, she's a woman of God, and she's just an all around good person to know. It's been a long time since we've had a chance to catch up with one another, but we're going to have an opportunity this evening to not only do that, but she's taking some time out of her busy schedule to share a little bit about her story, her journey, in the hopes of inspiring, encouraging, and uplifting others through the telling of, things that she's experienced and gone through in life. So it is my privilege and honor, ladies and gentlemen, to introduce to you Miss Joy Harville. Joy, thank you so much for being on the show.
Thank you for having me. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Absolutely. 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 So before we jump into our segments for this evening, I do want to give you an opportunity to introduce yourself to the audience. Tell them a little bit about yourself, who I am, this is where I'm from. Kind of give them a taste of who is Joy Harville.
Okay. Joy Harville is one of the realest women you could ever meet. I don't sugarcoat too much of anything. Um, Whatever I say is generally coming from the heart. And if it's a little harsh, it's because it's an urgency or something I feel that you should know. Um, I'm 55. I just had a birthday, and Joe, I don't think I can top more than how you introduced me. You said it's all in the introductions.
No
But
problem. No, I want to do you justice. I want to do you
yeah,
justice.
yeah. I'm a sister, I'm a aunt, I'm a cousin, I'm a niece. Yeah, and I try to live up to my name.
All right, all right. That there you go, right there. That says it all. Just the name in itself, and that's why
Mhm.
if you notice our episode title for this evening is "Count It All Joy," and that's
I
exactly what
caught
we're gonna.
that. I sure
That's what
did. I
we're gonna do tonight. We're gonna count it all, literally and
like,
figuratively. So, all
I'm
right.
gonna
Well,
do
with
this
the
one.
absolutely. Absolutely. So I appreciate you giving everybody a little taste. And again, we're just getting started. They're going to get to learn a little bit more about you. And I know that people are going to be blessed in hearing what you have to share tonight. So, with that said, I'm a firm believer that anytime you start talking about your journey, your story, in life, you really can't give it justice without starting, from the beginning, given an opportunity to share where the whole foundation of your story starts from, and that's exactly what we're going to do at this time. So, if you would, I'd like for you to just kind of reflect back as you think back to what was it like for you growing up. Fond memories that you have about growing up, as well as if there was any challenges growing up. If you would just kind of give our audience a backdrop of where your story begins and what was it like for you coming up?
Okay. I am next to the baby of six kids. And when I tell you it was rough growing up, but one thing I can say, I mean, we grew up poor, but we didn't know we were poor until we were much older. Um, we 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 were a really close family. I mean, and the neighborhood that we grew up in, everybody knew each other, so everybody pretty much looked out for each other too. Um, Now it wasn't all roses and things like that, growing up in the hood with a big family, it's a little bit of abuse that went on. But for the most part, I had a happy childhood. I did. Um, I would say I was gullible. Me and my baby sister, we were gullible. As dark as I am, my mom is light skinned, and my stepdad had us really thinking that my mama was white. So me and my sister, as dark as we are, we went to school. We were in kindergarten in first grade. We went to school telling our teacher our mom was white. Can you imagine going through that? That teacher's like, "No, you're not." But yeah, that things like that. That's yeah. I don't know. Things like that is what it was like growing up in my household.
Okay, okay. Well, I appreciate, of course, you sharing that. And, one of the things that, I always find, pleasing to hear is when people talk about, the whole family connection. A lot of times people on the outside looking in will think, well, if you didn't have a lot financially, then that must have made for some type of, you know, miserable experience. But that really isn't the case at all, especially for, people like ourselves who, you and I are very close in age, growing up in the 70s, you know, um, didn't have a whole lot financially. But the interesting thing is, and I've heard this a number of times from different people that I've had a chance to encounter on the show that come from that same era, they talk about, we didn't know that we didn't have a lot financially. We didn't know we were broke. We didn't know we were poor. It wasn't until much later in our adulthood that we kind of, figured out, oh, we were kind of struggling a bit. And I think a lot of that has to do with the fact that we, grew up in a family structure where our parents and our extended family, they just, that whole community of love and family and good times just kind of basically kind of blanketed the fact that we didn't have a lot. So we didn't miss, having all of the, the fancy things in life or what have you, because, it was just the nature of the way that the family was set up and how things were at that time. Whereas
Exactly.
kids now, they don't really get the chance to experience that the same way that we, may have gone through it like that. And they don't understand that connection in family anymore like that. So, it's always cool to hear when people share those stories, because it makes me, of course, even on my end, reflect back on those times and how fun they were. And you remember more of the good stuff than you do any of the negative or the lack of, if you would. So,
The simple life. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, it's just that simple life. We think all the stuff we think we needed to have, wanted to have, and all of that. And it was like, man, it was when it was simple, it seemed like it was just much more peaceful, much more joyful, a lot of times, So that's pretty cool. That's good stuff. And I can only imagine, what you're saying with the whole, identity that you kind of dealt with, at a young age, having a lighter skinned mom and then like you said, your stepdad having you thinking, that, is my mom white or, I'm sure that could have been a little bit confusing, for especially for a younger kid,
Oh, yeah,
you
we were
know.
just so sheltered then too. So yeah, we didn't know any better.
Hmm.
We truly believed that. I mean, we were so gullible, growing up, they tell you Christmas is right around the corner and we would go running around the corner looking for Christmas. That's how gullible we were. For, for
Like I
real.
went around the corner, I couldn't find Christmas anywhere.
Right. Maybe we went
That's
around the wrong corner. Yeah.
That's funny. But one of the things that you did point out, and you had made the point of emphasizing, mom was light skinned and we were darker skinned, But one of the things in knowing you, that one of the things I've always appreciated about you is that you have embraced, who you are, and in terms of your skin color, because we know in our community and in this culture, in this world, a lot of times darker skin was, oftentimes looked like it was supposed to be a negative thing, but,
Mhm.
anybody with eyes can clearly see you and know that, you understand that you are black and you are beautiful. And then your skin being darker doesn't make you any less than, anybody else. And so if
That's
there's
right.
any, if there's any young ladies, have an opportunity to listen to this, even if you're young adults, let joy be a reminder to embrace your dark skin, and that's nothing to be ashamed of. That's something
And
to be
and
proud
shout
of.
out to the Mrs. Icy as well, another fellow dark-skinned woman, beautiful.
Right. So you gotta embrace that. Don't don't let anybody ever tell you otherwise to make you think that, oh, just because, whether it's our own race or if with somebody outside of our race, don't ever make them think that, the darker your skin is, that somehow makes you, less than or inadequate or anything like that. Actually it's the complete opposite.
You
So
better know.
we want to acknowledge that and keep it real accordingly. So Joy, with that said, I wanna kind of go a little bit deeper with you, if you, you know, as we go through our life, of course, we start off with our childhood, we get into adulthood, and the reality is that you live long enough, there are going to be some storms that'll come across your path, some moments of adversity, but every now and then that storm that crosses your path is going to be a little bit more intense, a little bit more heavier than the normal stuff. So
Mhm.
much so that I find ourselves from time to time faced with situations that we question, we doubt, how am I going to get through this situation? This is a little bit heavier than what I'm used to. I may be really good at navigating my way through stuff, but every now and then I get hit with something that I don't see a way out. I'm not sure how I'm going to overcome this. So if you would tell us about a time where you felt like that situation that you were up against. You didn't see a way out. You didn't know how you were going to overcome it. Obviously, you're here today, and thank God that you are. So we know that God put his hands on you and allowed you to navigate through whatever that story is that you're about to share. But if you would kind of walk us through what that experience was like for you, and what did it ultimately take for you to see that, kind of coming out of it moment, that light at the end of the tunnel, so to speak.
There were so many moments growing up. Um, wow. And when you first brought this to my attention, I was trying to go through the Rolodex of life to see which story I wanted to tell. Um, some of them I'm a bit nervous about going into. Others, it's like, tell it. You waited your whole life to get the stage to tell your side of any situation. Just tell it. But I'm scared. Does that make sense?
It absolutely does, and that's okay. That's why I said to you before we started the show, and I'll even say it as we're doing this. Whatever God leads you to share, whatever God leads you to tell, that's what you share. You have no pressure one way or the other. As a viewer, as a host, as my listeners, we're just here to be blessed by whatever it is that you share. Because the reality is, that storms come across everybody's path. Um, my storm may not be yours may not be mine, but nobody's excused from that. So, whatever you choose to share, we are open to be blessed with whatever it is that you like to share, to whatever length of details that you choose to do it. It's totally up to you. I want you to be comfortable in whatever it is you'd like to share with us.
Well, okay. Growing up to all the way up to the age of 12 or 13, I was a hardcore tomboy. I did not want any attention drawn to me. So I figured, if I look and act like a boy, you know, nobody's gonna be attracted to me like that. And by nobody, I mean men, you know, those that like little girls. Not just men, women too. So I figured if I downplay myself, that's gonna keep me safe. When in actuality, it kind of just made it worse for me, if that makes sense. One particular time, I was, it was, I was in the middle of being taken advantage of, say the least. Look, I'm getting scared, tongue tied, to say the least. I'll just put it that way. And this wasn't by a man; it was a woman. And I'm thinking to myself, I froze. I'm like, what am I? Like you said, in this situation, do I just stand here and let her do what she's doing, let her finish? What do I do? And this is one of many times. And I remember just getting the courage, and I pushed her off me. I like elbowed her off me. She was behind me. Yeah, I don't know where I finally got the courage to do that. But once I did that, Joe, when I tell you, once I did that, whoo,
Mm.
I knew I was a fighter. All my life, I mean, look, I'm sounding like Oprah Winfrey. All my life, I had to fight. But then at that very moment, I'm like, okay, I got a little power here. And so that's when things start to change for me. Um, people, I started to dress more girly. I then thought it was okay for me to wear shorts. I would never wear shorts. I would always wear jeans or long pants and things like that. And then it started with me. I had this thick, thick, thick braid of hair. Both me and my baby sister did, and I just let it run wild. And then I started to get it tamed and pull it back in a ponytail, things like that. So yeah, that is one of the many times I made it through a situation I didn't think I would. That's just like I said, during the 12 to the pre-teenage years. Okay, and you asked me another part of that question, and I can't remember what it was. I'm sorry.
No, no, you pretty much hit it. I was just saying, when did you begin to see your way coming up out of that situation? And you basically said that, when you basically you had the courage to say no, to
Mhm.
fight that off, and you said, that was a big turning point for you to not only stand up for yourself, but then also to embrace. And it's funny that you spoke to that you shared this particular story because the fact that you embraced that, hey, it's okay for me to be a beautiful girl and put that on display. But I also need to know to be strong and be aware of my surroundings so that whether it be male or female that may come up, to approach me in a way that I'm not comfortable with or that I don't welcome, I'm able to stand strong in that regard as well. And so you shared a snippet of a story, but the snippet that you shared was so powerful. I don't know if you realize that because we know for a fact that this is a reality, unfortunately, for a lot of young ladies that were your age, or even in some instances, young boys. Being in similar type of situations. So understanding, the importance of not allowing people to take advantage of me, and the sooner you learn that at an early age, the better off you'll be because you'll take those skill sets into adulthood, not just from a physical standpoint of standing up for yourself, but not allowing people to mess with you mentally, not play with your head, not play with your heart. You talked about as a kid, you talked about, I felt so gullible, you know but and I think we all experience that at some point in our time. We're gullible, but if we understand what gullible is and what it looks like, and we understand what we need to do to circumvent that, then as we get older in our later years, um we're not so gullible, we're not that person that you can be made to believe that you can just say anything to me and I'm just going to let that ride, or I'm just going to accept everything that you said. It doesn't mean that you don't trust people. It's just that you are understanding it's biblically
Mhm.
speaking, it's the gift of discernment. You're able to discern, what's real, what's not real.
Mhm.
What I'm saying. That was one of the characteristics you pointed out in your initial intro. The realest person you can ever want to meet. I'm real.
Um,
And there's a reason why you're able to make that statement, you know is your realness. It's your and I don't know, and probably didn't make sense at the time when you were going through such an unfortunate situation, or when you found yourself being quote unquote gullible, but the stepping stones in your growth and your development. So as you moved up into adulthood, you would have that discernment, that mindset of knowing, okay, this is what I need to be paying attention to. This is what I need to be, watching out for. This is what my whole whereabouts, my whole spirit of discernment. And that spirit of discernment, that's a gift from God to be who can discern, who can read people, who can understand people, who can feel, are you somebody that's coming at me with good intentions, or are you somebody that's coming at me with ill intentions? And I
and
don't think
you
I'm.
know what? To
Go
add to
ahead. I'm
that,
sorry.
uh, to
Hmm.
add to that as well too, even though there was a time where I finally stood up for myself, growing up, I was the one that fought everybody else's battle though. I don't understand why I felt it was okay for me to take the abuse, but if it was my little sister or anybody in my family, I was the first one. I was the first to fight. I remember taking up for my sister one time, and it was a boy that was like 6 years older than both of us. We're like in again, like I said, kindergarten, first grade, and he was picking on my sister, and she was crying. She would always cry, and I remember walking up to this boy, looking up to him, telling him, leave my little sister alone. And this dude, I kid you not, he pulled out his thing and he peed all on my feet.
Mm,
I went home and Kim, my sister, she steady crying. I get home and I'm telling what happened. Nobody took up for me, but Kim got consoled. See what I mean?
mm-hmm.
There are things like I'm sorry, and I didn't mean to cut you off, but that was just another. Like I said, there were many stories. That was just one I desperately needed to get off my chest, and
No,
and I apologize again for overstepping, Mr. Roberts.
no, 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 not at all. You owe me no apology, nor did you overstep. You got off your chest what you felt like you needed to get off your chest. I'm just trying to, on my end of it, when I hear stories, I try to, not only listen to what my guest is saying, but then I try, and part of this has to do with just, as you get older and you just try to understand, especially in the storm moments, why did God let this happen? What was the lesson I'm supposed to get out of this?
Hmm.
And so as I'm listening to what you shared so far, I'm thinking about that building up of discernment. I'm thinking about that building up of you being one who believes in showing empathy and looking out for other people, because you personally experienced what it was like for somebody to try to take advantage of you. But then at the same time, as you were going through your own personal experiences of that, what was building up inside of you was this characteristic, this trait, if you will, of saying, you know what, I not only know what that feels like, but I also don't want to see anybody else go through stuff like that, whether it be your specific situation or just in general, just people feeling like that they can just mess over you. You've always struck me as that type of person that, hey, it wasn't just about if somebody messed with you. If somebody was messing with a family member or somebody that meant something to you, you're probably going to be that one who speaks up to that or stands up to that, even though it wasn't your battle, it wasn't your fight. And
Right,
again, everybody's not built like that. Everybody doesn't have that level of empathy inside of them where when somebody hurts, they hurt too because they don't want to see you go through what you go through. Now, the challenge in having that gift, because I've been guilty of it as well, the challenge of having that gift is sometimes we do take on more than what we should, but then that's where that relationship with God comes into handy because, see, we can intercede on a person's behalf in a number of different ways, whether we intercede by standing up for them, but more importantly, we can intercede on their behalf in terms of prayer and just, being an encourager or anything of the like. But ultimately, we turn that over to God and let Him handle that situation because He's going to be the one who's the ultimate problem solver in working those things out. We don't have to we don't have to fight that battle by ourselves. In other words, but sometimes just being that encouragement, that sound voice, being sometimes just even being that listening ear where we say nothing. We just let a person just come to us and pour out and just have a safe space and a place to be able to do that in. And so I see that, just from what I know of you and just even what you shared tonight, it just kind of reinforces just the characteristic and the person that you are. And that's what makes you who you and why, I'm sure people gravitate to you and have, relied upon you. And yeah, sometimes being if for lack of a better word, being that encourager, that hero or whatever, sometimes when you're in that position, it can be a thankless job sometimes. Sometimes you don't always get the thanks and appreciation for what you do. But you know what? It doesn't matter if man or woman doesn't give you that. God sees it. He knows it and he appreciates that and he looks out for you. When he knows that you're that kind of giving and loving person that even if you don't get all the accolades and all the credit for it, just the mere fact that you have a heart for people like that matters so much. And so that's why I appreciate you sharing, what you shared and just really emphasizing the value and the impact of it because I don't want you or anybody else to take this story, this message lightly that you've put out here. So I definitely appreciate you being transparent and sharing that. So
thank you for letting me.
yes, absolutely, absolutely. So So Joy, I'm curious to know when you do find yourself going through a challenging time, like we know sometimes it's going to be the big major stuff, but it's not always like that. Sometimes it's just regular everyday life is lifing, type of stuff that we come across, moments of adversity and challenges that we have to deal with. What I'd like to know from you is when you do find yourself in such situations of, hey, I got to deal with something, I got to overcome some challenge or whatever adversity moment that I got in front of me. What do you like to do that kind of works for you when you're dealing with challenging times? What's your routine, your regimen, if you will, that kind of helps you to keep a level head while at the same time you're working through whatever it is that you're up against to try to, to overcome? How do you like to do that? How do you process?
Okay, to be perfectly honest, I used to have a lot of unhealthy habits, like cigarettes. If I would try, a lot of times I would stress eat, dealing with a lot of things. So to keep from stress eating, I would smoke to deal with that. And then, when realized that that wasn't doing me any good, I would turn to drinking. Yeah, drinking is fun. It makes you, feel okay in the beginning, but just as with anything bad, it's not the best for you. You make wrong decisions, different choices, things of that nature. So then, when I seen that none of those things was working, and mind you, I still have my daily prayers with God and conversations and asking Him for purpose. What's my purpose? Please, just let me know. Give me a sign. What am I here for? With that, and I know God is sick of me. I know He get tired of me because He gives me answers, and I just pretend. I just act like I guess I'm acting like I just didn't hear what he's telling me to do because I'm not willing to give up those things that quote unquote soothe me when I'm feeling stressed. Is that does that make sense? What I'm saying?
Oh, yeah.
Yes, it
Yeah.
does. Okay, so back then that's what I used to do. Now I do love my wine. I do love my wine, but it's far and in between. I've given up cigarettes altogether. Now I love to do art. I used to write, but me having MS, with that being a debilitating disease, I can't work my hands like I used to. So me writing or typing, doing anything, it takes a whole lot of effort, and it wears on you. So yeah, so now that I do art, I do abstract art. I love the paint. I love working with resin things like that. I do canvases. That's therapy for me. That there. Another thing that's therapy when I'm feeling I need to just do something. I joined Planet Fitness. So in order for me to try to keep this cute little walk I got, because I usually drag my legs. I go over there and do the treadmill. That if you'd have asked me 20 years ago, would exercise and make me feel better, I'd have said, heck no. Now that's exactly what it does. So I guess you can say there's a few other things, but I'm gonna keep that to myself because this
Okay.
is
Okay.
called blessing in the street, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
We don't
Yes.
want to, yeah. We can keep that on the low.
Well, you know what? I appreciate your transparency in that because you said some things here when a lot of times when I ask this question, it's not uncommon, and not that this is a bad thing. It's not uncommon for people to talk about that I pray, or I meditate, or things of that nature. But again, I love your realness in what you stated because I like the fact that you spoke to what you used to do. To soothe yourself. I'm going through a stressful moment. I'm dealing with some craziness going on right now. So whether it's you know eating or overindulging in alcohol or cigarettes or whatever, that's very real type stuff that a lot of people use as a means to soothe. But the beauty of it all, in hearing you speak to this, is that there was a transformation that comes along with where and I truly believe that this is all God, where he allows you to indulge in those things, to a point, and it's really so much more. It's more about him allowing you to do it so that you can see that these are only temporary fixes. You
Mm,
know, a nice stiff drink, a little smoke, whatever. It may make me feel good and make me forget about my problems and my troubles in the moment. But when I come down off of that buzz or off of that high, whatever it is for me, when I come down
mm,
off of it, my problem is still here, and I might still be feeling the same way I felt about it before I indulged.
you
So
better know.
so how do I break the cycle? Well, you break the cycle by understanding that when you feel like that, when you need to have that peace, that joy, that calm that helps you deal with the challenges of life, who better than to lean on but God Himself, because He can soothe you in ways that a glass of liquor, a smoke, or any of those things can do. Now, am I going to sit here and say that there's anything wrong with having, any of that, a drink or anything of that nature? I'm not here to say that. That's not for me to judge or anything like that. That doesn't make you a horrible person because you do it. The key is that he doesn't want us to rely upon anything or any one person to the degree where we totally dismiss who he is and what his power is and what his source of healing is that he can provide us. And so he has to sometimes let us go through doing it our way first, so that ultimately we open our eyes and ears to receiving his way.
Yeah.
And look, and your story is a perfect example of that. I used to smoke a lot. Now I don't do that anymore. I might have used to drink more than what, I drank a little bit more in excess back in the day. Now I might have my little wine sipping on, every now and then or whatever. Nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with that. So and then also I've incorporated an artistic side. I've tapped into my artistic gifts and painting and, and the work with the resin and things like that. I've seen pictures of what you've done on your social media page, and beautiful, yeah, beautiful work. Beautiful work. I didn't even know you had the skills like that. I mean, and this is what's beautiful about times like this, because I get a chance to learn stuff about people. Some people I've known you for 20 years and I didn't even know you did that,
Mhm.
but beautiful work that you do. And I could see on the outside, I could see how that could be very calming and very relaxing.
It is.
And I'm just like, and I'm just like you when you talk about exercise. Even 20 years ago, I wasn't in love with no exercise, and I ain't in love with no exercise today. But even to that, you now find relaxation in exercise, and oddly enough, it really shouldn't even feel as relaxing as you expressed that it does, just because, like you said, you battle with MS, and a lot of times that makes it hard to do physical activity. But yet, God has taken what should be painful to you, what
Mm.
should not, maybe deter you from doing it. He's made that be something that you find enjoyment in. Something when you were healthy and strong, you wouldn't have nothing to do with that.
Right.
Now, yeah, I got physical challenges where this should be hard for me to do. How is it possible that I find relaxation in that? I find pleasure in it.
I do. And I
God can
can,
make things like that
you
be
better
that
know
way for
it.
you.
You
So
better know it.
that I don't an accident. That is not an accident.
No. That's
And
what,
it's
and that's
just
what I tell my daughters, y'all should just go and take a walk. And they be like, why? Because you can. Because you can do it
because you
with
can.
me. Yeah.
You said something right there. Take a walk because you can,
Because
because
you
you don't appreciate the walk until you can't do it.
can. Hmm.
Appreciate, you know, waking up in the morning and having movement of your limbs and all your mental capacities in place and your sight and your hearing. You don't appreciate that until one day it starts to fade,
Hmm.
or it goes away completely. So it just reminds us of how much we take for granted. Just waking up every day, we take for granted like we're entitled to tomorrow, and instead of understanding
Exactly.
that that's a gift.
Yes. That's
That's a
it.
gift.
If I could
you know.
pound through the phone, if I could give you a high five through the phone, that would be it. You
Yeah.
wake up like we entitled to it. That is it.
hmm and something has to allow us to go through stuff, whether it's in our health, whether it's in our finances, whether it's in our family and loved ones, whatever that is. Sometimes he
Mhm.
has to let us go through that stuff to remind us
Mhm.
how how blessed we are, and to remind us to not embrace that spirit of entitlement and thinking somebody owes us that. There's been a many of folk that we saw here today, and then boom, they go. Many of folk who was balling today, and then something happens, and now they're out of a job and they're losing their
Mhm.
houses and things of that nature. People
That
who are
part.
healthy as a horse. I
Mhm.
think right now, when I think about health, I think about my neighbor across the street. You know, exercised all the time. He was good dude, did all the right things, eating right and all that. But then we this generational thing of COVID, and it just riddled
Mm.
his body, and now he's gone, just like that. So it's like, wait a
Wow.
minute. Even when I think about my mom and my stepdad. My stepdad passed from lung cancer, yet my mother was the heavy smoker. How does that happen? You see, you just
Right.
never know how things are going to play out in life and what life will dish you. But the one thing that I'm learning, and I think you could probably attest to this as well, is I'm starting to appreciate the storms more and more, because I'm understanding that when these storms can't come our way unless God allows it to come our way anyway. And if He's
Mhm.
allowing it to come, I know that He's not doing it because He's trying to hurt me. He's not trying
Mhm.
to destroy me. He's trying to tap into something about me, to develop me, to grow me. It's an opportunity, in other words, and I
Mhm.
shouldn't look at it as a negative thing. And if I can make it through that storm, then I know that there's a blessing on the other side of it. And I think the more we embrace that mindset about storms, the less we'll worry, the less we'll stress, the less we'll get all worked up and bent out of shape. Because see, that's what the enemy wants us to do anyway. He wants
Yeah.
you to have sleepless nights. He wants you to be worried and fearful and anxious, and all of
Mhm.
those negative vibes and energies, stressing yourself out unnecessarily. He wants that for you. That he finds pleasure in that. We have a God that says, no, if I'm letting this come through, this is to prune you, this is to fine tune you, this is to shape you, this is to mold you. Because I got something special. I got some business for you to do. I got some works for you to do. you know and I believe that that's happening in your life. I believe it's happening in my life, and in many other lives that are out here, that people who understand who's at it all. And so I appreciate you sharing what you're sharing. I mean, this is some powerful stuff. And you know what, and it just, you and I were joking about this at the beginning. People don't know we spent nearly an hour trying to just get going,
Right.
not because we weren't on time, but because there was these unusual, weird technical difficulties going on that we just couldn't get jumping. And what did I say to you? What we both were saying, you must have a powerful story to go on this evening, that to share. And this is manifesting itself right now. This is why we were supposed to quit. We were supposed to say, you know what, let's just forget it. We just do it another time. That's what was supposed, that's, at least that's what the enemy wanted us to do.
Yeah.
But we
Yeah.
but we but we persevered, we fought through it, and now we dropping gems tonight. People are going to be blessed, and being a part of this experience with us. So, and so I'm just thankful that we did not give up. We didn't wave the white flag. We pushed
All
forward,
right.
and now we're having this wonderful, awesome moment,
You
changing
better
somebody's
come
lives.
through, Reverend
So
Robert.
I'm just saying, this is just how God works. How God works, and this is the whole spirit of what our conversation is about. We're talking about how we overcome adversities and challenges in life. And
Mm.
part of that process is not giving up when it gets hard. Not
Mhm.
not being so quick to quit just because
Mhm.
it didn't come easy for us. I have this conversation all the time with my daughter, and I'm sure you've had it many times with your kids. Ain't quit just when just because something didn't go your way this first time around, or the 10th
Mhm.
time around, or the 20. You got to just keep on pushing through, keep on persevering, keep
And
on
that's
fighting.
across the board. Yeah.
And that's what you got to
Mhm.
do. So yeah, I definitely am appreciating what you're sharing. So with that said, since we kind of got off into the of the younger folk, if you had an opportunity to speak to that younger version of you, or perhaps maybe a young lady who might be listening, that's in situations right now that you used to be in, that you've delivered from, that you've been delivered from, that you've grown from, that you've matured from. What would be your words of advice you'd like to share with the younger Joy, or somebody that's like the younger Joy, that you believe would be beneficial in helping them better deal with challenging times and adversity moments and things of that nature? What words of encouragement would you have to offer?
Trust your instincts. Trust them. I don't care what nobody else say, and it is to women. We do have that intuition, but definitely trust my instincts, because a lot of things I was like, no, I don't want to make anybody mad at me, or I don't want to hurt nobody's feelings or whatever. When I should have just came right out and just said A, B, C, and D like I am now. That that it's okay to stand up for yourself. You're worth it. I mean, yeah, a lot of times you were misunderstood or whatever, and if you're worth the respect you you long for, you so desperately need it, that you're worth it. Third is stay calm and don't panic, and I think that's it.
Love that. Love that. You got straight to the point, and those are very powerful messages that I think, young ladies as well as even young men can embrace that.
Now, did
It, it
we just become best friends, Joe? You better quit it. Thank you.
Like I
Go ahead.
said, we may not have seen each other in a long time, but we've been friends a long time. It's
Boy,
so that ain't never gone away. So I just have not had the pleasure of being physically in your presence in quite some time. Just having a conversation with you, it all brings it all back.
it
All the
does.
memories, the good conversations, the laughs, and everything else. So, this has definitely been enjoyable for me. And like I said, I know I've been blessed by what you've been sharing tonight. I know our listeners are going to be blessed by what you've been sharing tonight, and I'm just feeling grateful that you've taken time out to hang out and share like you have, because this is what it's all about. I mean, we want to share, we want to pour into, we want to impact others, and it's an opportunity for ourselves in telling our stories. It in its own way, it's a form of therapy, it's a form of healing, and it's a reminder how much I've grown, how far I've come, and how much I still have to look ahead.
Mhm.
In my life, yeah, we getting up there. We got a little bit more gray, we a little bit more round in certain areas. But we're not done yet. We still got some work to do. And I know that's for you, and I know that's for me. We got some stuff still. God is still in the blessing business, and I believe He
Mhm.
has a whole bunch in store for us both. So, I'm excited about that, for myself, for you as well, and I'm just
That's
really thankful, that you shared and poured into us as you have this evening. But, before I let you go, I do want to, of course, I'm out to celebrate you, to acknowledge you, to love on you. If there's any good news you got to share, anything that's happening right now or coming up, anything that you want to share, personal, business related, or otherwise, that we can, again, that we can celebrate, we can acknowledge, we can lift up in prayer about. Please do share that. What's anything that we need to know about? Any sign for you coming up, so we
yes.
can.
My business is about to blow up. Yeah, and
Okay.
that so be on the lookout for that. A lot of new work that I'm doing. A lot of different things that's not out there with typical resin doers are not doing. And I've been kissing a lot of frogs here lately, so I'm thinking, I got that feeling though. My Mr. Right is just around the corner. I just got to stick to my standards, stick to what I want, not what I'm willing to settle for. That
Hmm.
part, and I'm healthy. I'm still here. I mean, I still have my down days. I had my bout with depression. I'm out of that. Even though I almost died, I still carry the scars of the several surgeries I had to keep me here. I, s- I'm still here. I've lost like 50 pounds, so I'm doing something right.
Hey,
Yeah, and I got my family. I got a roof on my head. I have a car, all that. So I'm blessed, truly
that's
blessed.
awesome. That is awesome, and definitely that's all of that you just said is worth celebrating. So I'm excited about your business, prospering and going to new heights. And praying nothing but blessings over that. Obviously for your health and your strength, and like you said, and finding that Mr. Right, and I love the fact that you emphasize not settling, Not, not just, just trying to embrace somebody just for the sake of having somebody, but just saying,
Mhm.
I know my value, I know my worth, and that's the standard I'm going to maintain. So all of
Ah,
those things are
and,
very,
and kudos to you with the whole blessings in the streets and the books and all of that too. Oh my gosh, I forgot. I almost forgot to do that joke. I'm so proud of you. So, so very proud of you.
I
Man,
appreciate that. I appreciate
you,
that so much.
you damn near a celebrity status, huh? Ask me for an autograph pretty soon. Thank you
Well,
for
same with you. Same with you doing your Miss Artist, Miss Creative. So,
which
and with that said, if anybody is interested in your products that you have, or that is there, what's the best way for them to reach out to you and connect with you about that?
okay. I'm on Instagram and I'm on TikTok. I was on Facebook. I had a page that I was gonna start there, but I had a few situations there. You can reach me at intuitively joy. That's INTUITIVELY joy at gmail.com. The name of my business is Uniquely Joys. Joys. Look, there go that southern slang coming in, even though I'm born and raised in Indiana. But yeah, Uniquely Joys is the name of my business, and I do it all from canvases to coasters to serving trays to rolling trays to tables, glass and wood tables. And I think I covered it all. Yeah.
That's beautiful. That is beautiful. So again, my listening audience, check her out. Check out her stuff. Support her business. She's doing some wonderful works. Like I said, I personally had a chance to see some pictures of some of what she's done. So it's nothing shabby about it. It's some really upscale, nice stuff. So I know she would appreciate it, and I would appreciate it as well that you celebrate her and support her accordingly, and and pour into her business. Because she's doing some great works, and I'm just so happy for you, Joy. And it's been such a pleasure catching up with you and talking with you and seeing you. So thank you so much for being with us this evening. And for my listening audience, if you've enjoyed the content this evening, and you enjoy what we're doing here, please subscribe, please share, please like, please comment. Because again, here at the Blessings in the Streets podcast, this is what it's all about. We want to inspire, we want to encourage, live, being real, sharing our stories, being authentic, being transparent, with the hopes of touching your situations in a way that is uniquely specific to you, that you can draw from, that you can glean from, and be able to take some of these nuggets and apply it to your personal life situations. Because storms come for everybody. Nobody's excused from that. Nobody's immune from that. The reality is no matter how big the storm is, you don't have to get stuck in that storm. You have your moment, you process, but then just know that you can lean into God and He will guide you through that storm. He'll be your covering of protection. And if you don't have a relationship with God, I promise you, today couldn't be a better day for you to start making that connection. It'll be the best decision that you've ever made. It's not something that I heard, Joy heard. It's something that we know from personal experience firsthand,
Mhm.
on how He operates and how He moves in your life. It'll be the best decision you ever made.
The
So
best.
remember, here at the Blessings in the Streets podcast, this is the place where your story is your glory, where your relationships are relevant, and your journey is your joy. I am your host, Joseph B. Roberts. Thank you so much for tuning in. Next time, you keep fighting that good fight. You keep persevering, keep pressing forward. Don't give up. Don't wave that white flag just because it gets tough. You have a God that no problem is too big for Him to solve. He loves you unconditionally. He wants nothing but the best for you. And those storms that He's allowing to come your way, they are really opportunities for you to grow, for you to develop, for you to be the best version of yourself, so you can use the that He specifically placed inside of you to be a blessing to others throughout this world, and for you to be able to walk in your purpose. So until next time, you take care of yourselves. I'm looking forward to seeing you again. Be well.